been doing. They wanted something bigger and even more exciting. Even staying at the Walmart for a couple days wasn't a big thing to them now, because they've been doing that all the time. Well, a box arrived at the house that the man brought in. And when the man had gone to work, they came in and they looked at the box once they'd gotten out of their cage. They used their beaks and they tore the tape open and they pulled and they pulled. It took them all day to finally get it open. And why they had to look at it, who knows? Well, when they opened it up, what they found inside was a giant skateboard. It was so much bigger than the other skateboards that they had, the tech decks and the scooters, and they had all those things hidden underneath the couch. This was huge. It was so big, they kind of figured they could put about 50 of themselves on there with the sparrows and everybody. And they got to pecking around on it, and Hope said, "Hey, I know where this skateboard's going. I think this skateboard is probably going to go to that little boy who owns us." And they all go, "What do you mean?" "You know, like he lives somewhere else, far away. So this is his." "Well, if we got in the box and pulled the lid down, we would get to go see him?" "Yeah, let's do it." So they made sure they ate a bunch of food. They ate so much food for the next day. Their bellies were completely packed out. They even hid some food in the box with them. Well, the man came home, and it was early in the morning, and they knew he was getting ready to go to work. And they saw the roll of tape sitting out, so they knew that it was they were going to have to get in now or never. And they did. They got in the box. And they got down in the corner underneath it. And they sat there and they waited. And sure enough, the box went closed. The tape went on it. And then the man picked the box up and took him outside. And they don't know where they were at. All they know is they were moving and bumping around and bouncing and all kinds of things. And they were just thought it was so funny. And that they were talking to each other too while they were inside the box now, because they could hear something running like a motor. Anyway, all of a sudden all that stopped, and they could hear the man talking to somebody about where he was sending it to. And they were going, "See, I told you, this is going to be so cool." Sure enough, they got thrown on a big pile, and they had to sit inside a building for a whole day. And they were like, "It's so dark in here. What are we going to do?" Hope says, "Well, don't talk about clowns or anything." "Okay, we won't do that. We'll talk about happy, fun things. Okay? All right. So, what's happy, fun thing?" "Well, let's talk about the gang of sparrows. Oh, those guys are crazy. They're always getting into things. We have so much fun when we all go skateboarding and scootering. I love it. They're the coolest gang." And Small says, "Oh, yeah, they are way cool. They're my gang. They're dialed in. They're tight. We're cool." And so, next thing they know, they could hear something banging around, and the box went flying and got thrown someplace else. And now, whatever they were riding in was just going on and on and on, and seemed like it was taking forever. And it did take forever. They were so lucky they had food. Finally, the box stopped moving, and they could hear people's voices. They had been in the box for 4 days. Who knows? They don't even know. Anyway, they heard people talking, and they said they were going to open it once school was over. So they thought, "Well, what is school?" "Well, we don't know what school is, so I guess we're just sitting here." And they just sat in the box, and they waited, and they waited. And finally, the box got picked up again, and they could hear somebody screaming, like excited. And like all of a sudden, the box started ripping and tearing. And who opened it up? It was a little boy. This little boy who owned them. They couldn't believe they were seeing him. And he looked down in, and they all three flew out right into his room. And he sat there and looked up in the air, and he was like, "Oh my God, the birds are here. There's birds here." Well, they didn't know what to do because people were starting to chase them. And so all they could do was just fly out the door. And they did. And they took off. Well, they were in Utah. And they were flying around everywhere. And there were big black and white birds that were squawking at them. And it scared them to death. And Small says, hey, guys, I think, if I remember right, I heard that man talking to that boy about a skate park he goes to. What you talking about? He said he went to a skate park a couple days. Well, let's find it. Oh, how are we going to find it? We're birds. Let's fly up really high and look around till we see it. And they did. They flew all day. And finally, they saw a skate park. And they went down. And it was cooler than the one they had gone to here in Worcester. It was made out of like the stuff roads are made out of. Not wood and metal. And they thought, this is so cool. So they sat and they watched. And there were other people doing things and riding. And they said, we don't have anything to ride on. What are we going to do? Oh, no. Wonder if there's a Walmart. I don't know. I know what we can do. I think that boy has skateboards. Yeah, like our size. Like Tech Decks. You know, like the Tech Decks we have? Yeah, because I know that's where the Tech Deck came from. It's under the couch that we got hidden. That first one we rode. We better go back to that house. So they did. They waited until there was nobody at that house. And they snuck inside. Well, there were cats and there were dogs. And they were so scared and they didn't know what to do. They didn't care. They were going to find them. They did find them. They were inside a backpack. And Smalls unzipped it, and Ollie jumped in, and Hope kept watch over the cats and dogs, make sure they didn't do anything. Well, they got them out. They got 3 Tech Decks out. And they all looked at each other, and they go, let's go. And back out of the house they went, and they flew back to the skate park. And they skated in the skate park. And there wasn't anybody there. Well, they didn't know why. Well, they don't know about school or nothing like that. So they just know nobody was there. So they just kept going, and they had so much time to do it. And they were doing so many cool tricks, ramping, jumping, bunny, just everything they were doing. The Ollie flops, the Ollie flies. They had all gotten really, really good. Well, Smalls, he really wanted a scooter. But he was okay riding around on this. So they picked up their Tech Decks and they said, let's go find a store. And they did. They flew and they found a place. They found a place that looked just like a Walmart. But it wasn't a Walmart. They don't know what it was, but it was someplace different. Inside they went, and they went back, and they found a department with little bikes, little Tech Decks, and a couple scooters. All 3 of them got scooters. All 3 of them did. They flew back to the house, hid the skateboards, and then took off flying with their scooters, holding them in their claws while they're flying. And they got there, and now they were doing the scooter thing. And they were bunny hopping over everything. They were doing 180s. They were doing all kinds of things. And it was starting to get a little bit later, and they thought, maybe we better go back to that house again. So they flew back to that house, but they had to stop and go back in another store because they needed to stock up on some food because they didn't have any birdseed at that house. So they ate a bunch of grapes, all kinds of stuff. Everything they could get. Peanuts. They were eating everything they could find. They were happy, satisfied, and they left. They flew back over to that house again, and they hid in that boy's room in his closet. Well, he showed up, and who knows where he come from, but he grabbed the skateboard, and he said, are we going now? Are we going now? Well, let's have a snack first, said a mom. And so the little boy ate a snack, and they went out and got in the car, just like the man gets in the car when he goes to work, and he left. Well, they thought, we're going too. So out they went, and they flew. And they flew, and they followed the car. And you know where the car went? It went to the skate park. And the boy got out and ran over, and he was trying to ride this new skateboard. Now, he really wanted his scooter because he didn't really like skateboards so much anymore. But since he got it, he wanted to try it out. And he did for a while the birds sat up in a tree holding on their scooters and watched him. Well, he went back to the car and he put the skateboard away, and he got his scooter, and he come out and he started riding on his scooter. And Smalls couldn't wait. Smalls was down riding on the skate park while the boy was skating. And the boy was going around on his scooter, and he was dropping in, and he was doing manuals and jumping over things. And the next thing happened, Smalls went flying right past the boy on his scooter. And he looks right up at the boy, and he goes, like that. And the boy goes, "It's Smalls! It's Smalls!" And he tries to catch him, and Smalls jumps into this one ramp, and down he goes. And then here comes Ollie, and here comes Hope. And they're all over the whole skate park now, going everywhere. And the boy is chasing them, and they're jumping over his board or over his scooter. And he can't believe that they're there. He can't even figure out how it got there. And they just kept doing this. And the boy stayed until he had to leave. And when he did, the little birds picked up their scooters, sat up in the tree, and they watched him leave. And they looked at each other and they go, "Did that really just happen? I don't know. Did that really just happen? Let's go scooter." And back down they went scootering. The boy went home to have dinner and play around at his house and stuff, but they stayed there and they scootered like crazy. And they did this, and they kept going. They'd go back to the grocery store and get some food. They would go back to the house where the boy lives, and they'd sit up in a tree, and they'd look down so they could see him and see how he's doing. And then they would fly back over. And they did this for so long. And then all of a sudden, Hope said, "Hey, guys, how are we going to get back home? Can't we just stay here? I don't know if we can or not. But I think we probably ought to go back. How are we going to get back? I don't know. Let's not worry about it right now. Let's go ride scooters." Wait. We just can't keep riding scooters all day long. Why not? I just want to ride this scooter, Smalls says. "Okay, I know. We got it. It's cool. We got 3 scooters. We're having fun. It's a cool skate park. Well, I'm not sure I want to go back because I want to stay here where the skate park is. Plus, I like seeing that kid." "Well, we got to go back because that's where our cages are." "Oh, man, I don't know. Maybe we just stay here." I think we better go back, but let's go skateboarding." "We can't go skateboarding all day long." "Yes, we can. Goodbye." Smalls took off, and he flew back over, and he went to skate park, start scootering again. He was grinding this time, dropping in, and he could do a front flip and a back flip. But don't forget, he has wings. He just flap them. He flips over. He did it. And finally, Hope and Ollie showed up, and they did it too. And they really, really liked their time in Utah, but they thought for sure they really needed to go back. Well, they knew what the cars looked like that were going to maybe back to where they come from, because they knew what these plates were on the car that looked like the ones on the man's plate. And so they got this big idea, or the big plan, that what they were going to do was they were going to find one of these cars or truck, and they were going to get up underneath it, and they're just going to ride it all the way back. Well, I think it was a good plan. They thought, well, what do we do with our scooters? We don't want to lose them. Well, I know what to do with them, Small said. We'll take them back, and we'll give them that little boy. We'll put him in his room, in that bag with those tech decks. And then when we come back, we'll know where they're at. Hey, good idea. So they flew back to that house, and they snuck in quietly, and they put the 3 scooters in. And they scratched on the floor a few times, and they looked around, and they said, we're going to come back here again, aren't we? Oh, heck yeah, we're coming back. We know how to get out here now. We just have to wait for a box to be coming out to here, and we're getting in it. All right, guys, here we go. So out they went, and they went down to a gas station, and they watched, and it took like half the day. Finally, here came a red car with those things on them that looked like the place where they were from. Like it said OHIO. And Hope said, okay, guys, this is our ride. They hopped up underneath it, and they grabbed onto something really tight. And Ollie says, hey, you think this is safe? I don't know. If you fall off, make sure you flap your wings really fast. And if you fall off, we'll jump off too, so we all don't get separated. Okay, well, let's go. And they took off, and they went. And they rode, and they rode, and they rode. And the car would stop sometimes in the night, and the people would get out, and they would just sit there and wait. And if they were close to a store, they knew what to do. They would just go sneak around till they found some food. Well, their favorite thing that they found on the whole trip, you know what it was? They found a place that had 2 golden arches out front, and the building was red. And they cooked food there. They found French fries. They found French fries next to the trash can. And they ate as many French fries as they possibly could. Well, there were kids pulling up in cars, and their parents didn't even know it. And they were throwing the French fries out to the little birds because they were colorful. Nobody ever saw birds like that before. And they were eating all the fries. They had their bellies completely full, and they would fly back over, find that same car, get up underneath, and off it would go when the sun had come up, and they would ride and ride and ride and ride all day long. And guess what? They finally made it back. But they didn't even get close to where they lived at. They had to find another car, and they had to go for another ride on it. And before long, a whole week had gone by. And back where they lived, the man thought they had just flown out of the house and disappeared forever. Well, they finally got enough rides, and they finally rode on enough cars that they finally saw something that looked familiar. And it was the skate park where they went to when they would sneak out. And so they said, we must be close. So they took off flying. They knew which direction to go in because they flew this way all the time. And they flew and they flew. And finally, there was the house. Well, they knew they had to sneak in, so they snuck in from the top stairs. And they came downstairs, and they saw the kitty. And the kitty looked at them, and the kitty went, meow. And they went, shut up, kitty. And they flew up in their crack, and they came in the door. Well, the mama bird, the daddy bird, and the other lady bird who's in the cage, who doesn't like any birds at all, was actually excited to see them because they didn't know where they went either. And they ran over to their cages, flipped open the doors, jumped inside, and they ate as many seeds as they could because they had not had any seeds. And it had almost been 2 weeks since they were gone. Later that day, they were sitting there talking, and they were talking about how much fun they had on their trip. And they said, we can't wait until something else shows up here for a box, and we can go back out there, and we can see that boy again, and we can go to that skate park again. And we will have a great day doing this one. So let's go get our skateboards and our scooters, and let's go to the scoot park here, and let's get to Sparrows and everybody in the gang. And Hope says, I'm going to the movie. And Small says, I'm going skating. Ollie says, oh no, I'm the skating king. Anyway, they had a good time, and they were excited to get to go back out and see the boy again. The end.